Hello to all my fellow board gamers and welcome to the channel all about economic board games. And today I have a treat for you, one of my favourite games, currently my number one. That's Imperial 2030, brought to you by designer Matt Gertz, and this one is by PD Verlag. Now, I recently did a video on Imperial, which is the game that came first. That's kind of got the European map, and this one is pretty much the same game, but you've got the global map, and I'll go through some of the slight differences at the end of the video if you were interested in Imperial and why you may want this one over that. So if you guys who aren't familiar with this at all, I'm going to be giving you an overview today and hopefully give you a good idea of how it plays. So we are investors and we will be putting our money into bonds, and you can see at the bottom here you got China, Russia, and you'll be buying these. And essentially if you buy one, you can see the cost at the top, so 2 million. It's going to give you an interest of 1, so 50% in this case. And this is important because the more power you get, which is this top right figure, you get to control the flags of that nation. So if you have most of India, you'll get India's flag, and that's key because you then get the control of that government on the board and you get to do the actions on this rondel here. And I'll go through the actions. So looking at the board, you can see we've got a bit more neutral territory on this one compared to the original Imperial, so all these kind of beige areas at the top here as well, and you've got Peru and Argentina. Those are ones you can go and claim and put your tax discs on. So you've got Brazil in green, America, Europe in blue, Russia at the top, then purple, India and China as well. You can also take over the seas, and in this version it's very clear cut as to which sea is where. And at the bottom you've got the power, the bonuses are clearer, you've got the tax, and all this will make sense shortly. And at the top you've got the multipliers, and whoever gets to that 25 at the top triggers game end. So what is going to happen? You start off with some bonds and you've got your flags, and you're going to be moving. This counter starts with Russia, I believe, and Russia, whoever has the majority of Russia as the flag, will decide where they're going to go. So looking at the rondel then, the player who controls Russia will decide, let's just go to factory first. So factory is where you can build one of these on the board for 5 million out of the funds of the government you control. Now the game starts with several of these. You've got the marinas, which produce tanks in this game. These factories produce tanks, and these one produce ships. So a factory would pay 5 mil out of their money here. That goes to the bank. And then let me just go and grab something. So Russia, what can we do in Russia? We'll put one of these factories here on the circles, and you can see we've got the capacity to build this blue one at the top when we get a chance. Now building factories is great because basically that when you go to produce, which I'll show you next, you get to produce the tanks and you get to produce these ships rather than having to pay for them. So next we would go to China. We look at this, and they could go to factory as well. You can have as many on that specific action as you want. Let's just say they go to production to show you how that works. So we look at China, and we can see they've got one of these brown ones and a blue one. So they are going to produce. I'll try not to move the camera too much for you folks. Here we are. So this one has produced a tank, and we've got a ship there which is classed in port, and that is literally production. So we're kind of going across to India. Let's just say India wants to go and we'll produce as well. I'll go and quickly grab, so you can see India has got a brown factory and a tank as well. So we'll put a tank on New Delhi, and we've got a ship there. Now whatever actions you got, so let's just assume you're going to keep going sideways. You're going to go Brazil, USA, Europe, and then it comes back round to Russia. Now let's just say it's China's go, and China have gone to maneuver. Now on here you can move, you say it says up to 1 to 3 fields to 3, so they were in production. There you go, 1, 2, 3, and there's no cost. You can go through if you want, but it's going to cost you, I think it's 1 million or 2 million each, can't remember, I think it's 1 million, times the number of power on the top here. So if you've, if your yellow count, if I can reach it, is all the way in this one, then you're going to add on one as well. But this is an overview, I'm not going to go too far into the details. So you can move forward if you want. So maneuver, what you're going to do then with move it, you're going to move all your pieces on the board, so this tank and this ship, up to one maximum of one. So if that focuses in, the yellow area here is basically your province, and that's kind of got this train network. So you can move anywhere within it, and then you can go to an adjacent spot. So Afghanistan, that's your one move. This ship can come out of port and go into the China Sea, and that's your one move. Now, every time you go into either a beige territory or a new sea territory, you get one of these tokens, and that shows that you have the current influence in that area. Now, if say this tank comes in here, it's going to engage in battle, and you can either go in friendly or you can go in and attack. And basically, attacking in this game is 1 for 1 out of the game. Now, China remains the majority there, but let's just say another Indian tank does go in there, then that flag changes to one of India's. Now, why is this important? Because as you go throughout the game, if you eventually get to this tax option here, you are going to get revenue from all your nations. And let's say India did that, you get 2 million for each factory, so 4 million, plus this one would be 5 million because it's 1 million each, so 2, 4, plus the one is 5. So if you get loads of them out, that's more tax from your nations. And 5 million, so if we look at this chart here, you can see 0 to 5 budges India up to there. You're going to get zero bonus as an investor because you haven't really done a good job of governing, and your power increases 0. So that's pretty pathetic. But let's just say you did have loads of these chips around the board and you had loads of factories and you went up to this level 10, you're going to get 2 million into your private fund, and your power is going to increase by 3. And as I mentioned, that's at the top here, and the further up you go, you're going to get these multipliers, which are crucial for end game scoring. Now, whatever options we got, so we've done maneuver, we've done production and factory. So this magical red line, once you pass it, you get the option to, well, let's just say you land on investor. First thing you'll do is, and it kind of has it all on this nice little player aid here, so you can see your factory, production. I'll go for import in a minute. So investor, interest is paid out. So everyone in this case who has China shares in China is going to get paid this number at the top. So let's just say this player here, these three, you can see they're going to get a combined of 3, 5, 6 interest. And you have to pay your opponents out first. And if you don't have enough money in the funds of that government, it's coming out of your own personal stash. So in this game, you've got your own money on the side, which keeps secret, so no one kind of knows how much purchasing power you've got. And this is the money that the interest is going to come out, and if hopefully you've got enough there. So that's the first step of invest. Second is, this is how you get a chance to buy shares, is there's one investor card, and that player is going to get 2 million. Let's turn over so you can read the English. So they're going to get 2 million, and they get a chance to buy one of these bonds. Now, unless you use one of the alternative rules, that is the only chance you're going to get to buy a bond. And then this passes clockwise, I think it is. And then on the next player to pass this red line, they will get to activate that as well. Now, in this game, there's something called Swiss tokens. And basically, you can see in Switzerland, it's kind of neutral. And if you don't have control of one of these nations, you also get to buy, which is kind of like a little catch-up mechanism. So that's the investor one, and you can buy any denomination of these. You can only buy one. You can upgrade. So let's just say you had this 2. You could pay this. You could pay 2 extra to turn this 4 into a 6, and this is crucial to the strategy because there's various denominations. Some of the interests are, they gradually get less as you get the bigger ones. But let's just say you did get this 25 and this 20. Your options for someone to overtake you are limited then, or maybe you want to get the smaller ones because you don't want someone to suddenly overtake with just a couple, and they're going to have to pay more money to get one of these bigger ones. So there's some interesting strategy as to which bonds to buy. And what else have we got? That was investor. Next one we've got is import. Now, this is a nice way of getting tanks and ships on the board if your opponents have occupied your territories. So let's just say this black tank here has gone into China, and it's not friendly, and it's kind of hogging this Chinese factory. You can't produce on that currently, and you can't use it to get your tax. And I don't think I've actually explained tax. I did explain tax, yeah. And that's crucial. So you want to make sure that those tanks, you either defend yourself or destroy them, and it's crucial that the import option allows you that chance to pay 1 million. So in this case, China could pay up to 3 million to buy 3 different things, and let's just say that place was occupied. They could buy another ship, move in a couple of tanks, so then they can defend themselves. So that is what import does, and that's pretty much all of them, folks. And you can go round and round. Now, if you don't decide to land on investor, let's say this red one, it's past it and it didn't really want to pay out interest to its shareholders, you still undertake this invest card. So that player's currently got it, gets 2 million, and then it passes round and they get to buy a bond as well. Now, what was I saying about the PowerPoint? So as you tax, clearly you want more of these little tokens around the board, because that increases your bonuses and you get more power. And let's just say the game ends at the top here with Europe has managed to get all the way to 25, purple's on this 15. You would figure out your points. So game end is triggered literally when the first player gets to 25. So you can see blue is on ×5. Anyone who has these European shares is going to multiply that interest number. So in this case, if that focuses in 5, times the 5 is 25 points, and you do that for every single location of the shares. So Russia would be ×3. You add up all those, you add up any money that you've kept along the game, and that is your total score, and you see who the winner is. Now, for me, this game is an absolute beast, and the reason is you get this great power struggle of managing these nations. You've got your own secret stash of money, and you're trying to buy these bonds at the right times, and sometimes you don't necessarily need to be controlling them. As long as you've got enough shares to kind of keep up with that person, you're going to be getting paid interest when they decide to land on this spot. And this version, compared to the original, has a lot more neutral spots around the board. There's a lot more seas. There's a lot more area in Africa. You've got Australia just at the bottom here. And it gives a few more options to spread your wings and take control. It's not as tight and competitive as the original version. It's also a lot more clear cut. You can kind of see the text a lot easier rather than that Gothic type feel. I like how you've got the Swiss adaptation. I also like how these bonuses are clear. It's a little bit, not confusing, but you had to kind of figure out in the original. And everything's a little bit snug and neater in this. These cards make more sense. A lot clearer. The tanks and stuff slightly smaller, and I like these tokens. They're nice rather than the circular ones in the original. But overall, it's just a clean cut game, and it's so exciting when you get to take control of America, and then you start heading over to Europe and trying to cause bother there, and then the balance of power sways as you say one person has China currently, and then someone else buys a bond and they take over China because they've got more influence there, and that means your plans up here. You might have had China and Russia, and then all of a sudden someone takes over and you're like, well, damn, what am I going to do now? Maybe I need to get into Europe to defend myself at the north. Now, it's not a war game, as I did say in Imperial. This is an investor game. It looks very war-based and similar to something like Risk, but these are just thematic. You're kind of moving them around to take control to get the tax, because the tax is crucial to put money into your government, and you want to try and reap the rewards and get that tax out by using this investor option to get more money into your personal funds and hopefully get some of these bonuses as well, to then buy more bonds, take control of governments, and cause more havoc on the board. A true delight for me. Still lives up to the first time I played it. Now, it does work with 2 players. I was very surprised. I've tried a couple of games and it is really nice. It gives you a lot more involvement. It does work really nicely with that 3 to 4 player mark. I think this one plays up to 6. Haven't actually tried it for 6. 5 players was okay. It was sometimes you don't actually have control of one of these nations, and you can be twiddling your thumbs a little bit, but this game does give you that Swiss option, and it plays in about 2 to 3 hours. Overall, really love this game, and if you like Imperial and you want a little bit more spice, try this one. There we are, folks.